Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining me, Dave Knight, for this week's podcast, which is number 69 in our weekly releases. A huge warm welcome to you all as we get straight into this 9 p.m. Sunday Settler. These weekly individual podcasts are wrapped up into tailored bulletproof yourself wellbeing packages, which you can access on my website sundaysettler.com and clicking on the Bulletproof Yourself page there. This week's Sunday Settler is entitled Achieving Your Dreams in 2021, and it's a great time to be thinking about those kind of things as we move into a new year, a new calendar year. And we'll be considering the feelings that we attach to the goals that we have either set ourselves or have been set for us by others. And many of us live to those kind of targets day in, day out, and I can certainly relate to that, I really can. However, as we're nearing the end of a calendar year now, and we're going to be spending some time in this podcast thinking about achieving a goal that would just be cool, great to achieve. So there are no strings attached to this goal, or rather no feelings attached to it. And I'll share my wild dream with you in this podcast too, and how the turn of events after I'd set myself this goal, how the turn of events just seemed to take place to help guide me on my way to achieving it. But this is your bit of me time for 10 to 15 minutes, so please get yourself into your relaxing space for that time, sitting back, lying down, however you feel most comfortable. Many of us have goals, don't we, and targets that we have set ourselves, or someone else's, or something else has been set for us. And if we think about those goals for a short while, more often than not, we have a feeling attached to them. So something depends on us achieving it, getting there, such as paying the mortgage off, and we think that we'll have no pressure then. Achieving a certain level of study, and I'll feel more worthy and more intelligent, more clever, and being able to be in any person's company. If we have 3 holidays per year, we will feel much less stressed. If we win that medal, we will feel more secure in ourselves. If we win the tender or get the job promotion that we've been working towards, and we can earn more money, we will be happier, let's say. I wonder if any of those kind of things sound familiar to you. Because there is some logic, isn't there, in the way that we might think about those goals that we have set ourselves. There's some logic there because we've been socialised into thinking this way. If we achieve X, we will feel this. But whilst it's what we've been sort of led to believe, and what we've sort of learnt over time to be true, it's not the way it works. And it can lead to, this kind of misunderstanding can lead to much heartache, frustration and pain, because that's just not the way our psychology works. And in other podcasts, I've shared some of my experiences related to this topic as well. But I thought I'd be happier when I achieved a certain level of income in my previous business. And it was a marker that I'd always wanted to get to. But to say that brought me happiness, however, couldn't have been further from the truth for me. And there are many people in the public eye, aren't there, who have achieved things and yet realised that they didn't feel the way they expected to feel when they got there. Many examples of that. And perhaps either you have experienced something similar, or there's someone you know at the moment is going through this kind of experience at the moment. I know someone also who completed a PhD, and it was 5 to 7 years of hard study, hard graft to prove to himself that he could do it, to show himself that he was clever enough, and to put all those self-doubts to bed, if you like. That's why he did the PhD. But needless to say, when he achieved the PhD, he realised it didn't work like that for him, and he still had those not feeling not good enough kind of imposters lurking around. And those were planted by his father, he realised, at a young age. And that was a blind spot, if you like, a self-limiting belief that he'd been carrying around with him. And if I'm honest myself, it was one of the reasons why I was looking into studying for a PhD at one stage, to try and prove that I am intelligent enough, rather, to be able to sit at any table and have a deep and meaningful conversation. Does it really work like that? Please be curious about those kind of things. And on a previous podcast, I spoke about the pressures of goal setting, didn't I? And the feelings that we attach to our goals, those expectations to be and feel a particular way when we achieve our goals. And as we know through our understanding of mind, consciousness and thought, our psychology works from the inside out as opposed to the outside in. And this brings me to achieving your dreams in 2021 and beyond. Something that we'd really, really like to happen, but is totally unexpected. So it comes with no pressure whatsoever. It would just be cool if we got there. So a goal that we wouldn't normally even think about setting ourselves, as it seems so completely and utterly ridiculous. Now, this was an idea that was given to me by my mentor a few years ago, who had previously set himself a 90-day goal to develop a particular product, and completely no strings attached. And he found that by working with intent towards achieving the goal through regular day-to-day conversations with people, it stimulated his next steps for the development of that particular product. And so here was my idea, my dream. It was to write a children's book based on the adventures of our little family pet, our hamster, whose name is Shadow, and to share the love that we, and in particular my children, have for him, and just to treasure that this short-lived moment that we're getting with him. And it was a way just to kind of bottle this magical time up. But anyway, so aside from the fish, the hamster was our main pet, if you like, at the time. And I think about this goal or dream, and the only feeling attached to it was a loving feeling, if you like, wanting to just capture the hamster's short life and to try and do that with beautiful illustrations, as a keepsake, if you like, for our children to look back on in sort of 10 years' time, let's say, with happy memories. And I wanted the book to be published. I really did. And whether it be something that I published myself or through a publisher, I didn't mind. I honestly had no idea, though, how it all would work. However, the thing underlining this was there was no feeling attached to achieving this goal, and in the sense that there was nothing depending on it. My happiness didn't depend on it. My financial stability, let's say, didn't depend on it. It was something that I would never have otherwise done and, if you like, worked with intent towards. It was just a cool thing to do. So my happiness didn't depend on it. My financial security didn't depend on it. and my stress levels wouldn't be any higher or lower whether I complete the book and get it published or not. But once I had decided to, let's say, that this is what I was going to do, I started working away on the plot of the story. So I worked with intent to get something done. I had an overall aim here after all, didn't I? And perhaps this is something you can relate to. Writing the story was my first step, or even writing the first page was my first step. But you may remember I've spoken a lot about just knowing the first step, because that is all we need to know. It really is. And in working away with that purpose, just knowing my next step, it was as though things, or perhaps let's call it the universe, just seemed to open up for me as I went along, to help to give me my next step along the way. And I found that just through everyday conversations with people who I already knew, maybe friends or people that I knew of, just people who knew nothing whatsoever about what I was doing, what I was working towards. Or so it's through conversations with people, or reading something that someone had posted on social media, I seemed to be guided down the path which I intended to move towards. It's crazy how it worked, but without the insecure feeling attached. I was getting to where I wanted to be. In a conversation with someone, they told me about their relative who was moving into illustrations work. Well, at that particular time, I needed an illustrator to bring my story to life, to capture the words I was writing and the meaning behind them. And it was a great place to start with contacting illustrators and comparing their concepts and their visions for the story. But through those contacts, I realised the importance of formatting and breaking down the story page by page, and which I'd never even thought about needing to do. And that might seem obvious, mightn't it, to some people, but I didn't know that. I didn't know that. This is my first time doing it. And to add to this, I didn't realise this at the time either, a friend of mine had just self-published a book. And needless to say, we met up for a bite to eat and a chat, and discussed some of the potential pitfalls in trying to write and publish a book. And in doing this, I knew what my next step was. But there was one thing that completely blew my mind. And someone that I had known for a while, who I now class as a friend, worked at a publishing company, a children's publishing company, and she gave me great advice on what publishing companies expect and what they look out for, amongst other things related to the book. But my wild dream, if you like, was to publish a book in 90 days. In fact, it took me 117 days, but that doesn't matter. Sometimes we attach those tight deadlines, don't we, on those goals, and it's all made up. It really is. I got there. I did it. Its success won't depend on whether I had published it 27 days earlier, within the 90-day initial target. So its success won't depend on whether I published it earlier or not. I just worked with intent. And when I had the time, and I found that things just showed up for me when I wanted them to, and that helped with those gentle nudges in the right direction. Perhaps an intelligence steered me towards achieving my goal that I was working with intent towards, with those, as I say, nudges in the right direction. And it happens to all of us without realising. Perhaps you can relate to it, that conversation that you've had with someone which was totally unexpected and yet incredibly meaningful for you in a particular time. That meeting that you were not supposed to go to, and you did and something happened there that was useful for you. Or meeting someone in a random place who later became so significant in your life for years to come. Have any of those kind of things happened to you? These are not coincidences as such. They are signs of an intelligence steering us, guiding us towards the path that we're going towards. And I'm wondering now, after sharing a little bit about the goal, the wild dream that I set myself, if you were to set yourself a wild dream, what would it be? Now, just remember that this is something where there are no feelings attached, no strings attached. It would just be cool, great, brilliant to get there. What would it be? And then consider, what is your first step to show it that you are working with intent towards that goal? In this podcast, we have briefly discussed the feelings we attach to goals that we have set or have been set by others. And it might seem that our feelings depend on whether we achieve those goals or not. However, that is a misunderstanding of how the nature of our human experience works, how our psychology works. We're socialized into thinking, aren't we, that way, and it's very much part of our everyday to be striving and to achieve things at some level. But with a wild dream in mind that we can set ourselves with no strings attached, no feelings attached, we have the capacity to work towards something with intent, but with no insecure feeling and thinking attached to that goal. And if we can just see how this can be achieved step by step, how we are steered towards it through a life intelligence, we are creating the opportunity to just see how we can apply the impossible dream, if you like, to our everyday lives with much less pressure and expectation, perhaps, on how we think we will feel when we achieve certain things. I appreciate you listening to this podcast. I really do. And if it has been of interest or useful to you, as always, I would value you sharing across your platforms, liking, sharing, following. And if you haven't done already, please subscribe to our newsletter via sundaysettler.com to be the first to be kept up to date with all the work that we're involved in here. And if you're feeling a little lost or stuck at the moment and think you would benefit from an initial call with someone to discuss an area of challenge in your life, call me and we can take it from there. And if you quote Wildest Dreams 2021, you'll receive a 20-minute free intake call, 10% off your first full session with me, and availability over the telephone to discuss anything that we've explored in our conversations, just to get some clarity on those kind of points. But next week we'll be wrapping up Series 7, and between now and then, I sincerely wish you a great time over the festive period. Merry Christmas to you.